We are live in Fort Collins, and what a great weekend we just had. We were up at our cabin in Red Feather and got a little bit of snow both days. And I'm not going to lie, I went ill prepared, looked at our 10-day forecast, which I'll talk to you guys a little bit about here shortly, because this Friday we do have our 18th annual Bike to Work Day. But we took up our van, which is a front wheel drive. It's got 165,000 miles on it. And it's a great vehicle for our kiddos, but we were bringing our au pair up with us. And so rather than taking two cars, we thought, let's take the van. And I got a little anxious when I was sitting there looking at the snow. I'm like, are we going to be able to get out of this? And then we were going to go to Beaver Meadows Ranch Resort, which is about 90 minutes from Fort Collins, 30 minutes from where we were at, kind of on the border of Glacier View and Red Feather. But you can go tubing there. There's restaurants. I went there as a kid, apparently, but I had not been back. It was for 2 hours for 6 people with 3 adults, 3 kids. It was $180. And I mean, you went up and down this run a bunch. I mean, and we only stayed for 90 minutes. And we got at least 20 to 25 rides in, but I wanted to show you this video. It is pretty. This is my wife and my 3-year-old coming down here. I mean, I'm not, the first time I went down this, I was with my daughter, and it's Red Feather doesn't get a ton of snow. Beaver Meadows obviously gets more, or not obviously, but it's a little bit higher up, Crystal Lakes area, so elevation, and so a little bit more snow, but there's some wind. We got a lot of sun, so these runs kind of get melted down and then iced over. I mean, I don't know what the miles per hour that we were going, but it was a blast. So if you have the opportunity, it's 90 minutes from Fort Collins, really pretty quick. And relatively affordable. There's a restaurant on site, but I would recommend 4-wheel drive. Now, that being said, this is live in Fort Collins. We talked to you guys about things that have happened in Fort Collins and then city council review, which there was not a ton that was discussed, but actually some of the kind of ordinances that we're looking at being passed were interesting enough. And so I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that. Let's see here. Retail egg prices are set to climb 20% in 2025. I don't know, recently my wife, we shop at Costco a lot, and they didn't have eggs. And we also have a membership at Sam's Club. Went to Sam's Club. We're able to get, I think, 2 36 count of eggs, but not only is their price increases, but they're kind of hard to find. And apparently that's a lot of avian flu since 2022, but, I guess not hoard up on eggs by any means, because I don't think they last too long by any stretch of the imagination. But that being said, just kind of be on the lookout if you're a big egg guy in the morning. I had egg and tuna this morning, trying to eat a little bit healthier. I'm not. I would potentially eat like human dog food if I could, in the sense of just give me my nutrients that I need on a daily basis, the same thing, and I'll make it work. But eggs and tuna and a little salsa. Don't judge me. It's actually not horrible. It's not great either. But all right, next, moving on. Fort Collins Rescue Mission's turning up their fundraising efforts, and I just thought there was a couple of parts here that were really pretty interesting. They have already raised 24 of the $27 million needed for this new facility. The Bohemian Foundation is providing the land and providing a long-term lease for the mission. Some numbers I thought were interesting of note. Our current mission is about 5,000 square feet, and the new facility would be about 38,000 square feet. So nearly over 7.5 times the size of our current mission. The current mission has overnight beds for 89 men. This is a men's shelter, whereas the new facility will have enough beds for 250. They're hoping that they can begin construction here soon, actually, with a grand opening prior to the 2026-2027 winter. So that's essentially 18 months from now, more or less, is when they're hoping to have this thing up and running. It's been a relatively contentious conversation because of a lot of different things. There's a lot of growth and development that has been happening along North College. We talked a little bit about it last week, but you know, they're going to be selling the old building that was right on Jefferson and Linden, which will help towards the proceeds of that $27 million that are needed. But it looks like it's going to be happening here sooner than later, but fundraising efforts are in full force. Let's see here. A community art space closing after 16 years. They originally signed a lease with the intention of only being there for 3 years, but Art Lab, which is off of Linden, and they are closing on May 31st. So kind of sad to see, you know, there's not a ton of makers areas in Northern Colorado. Makers Bench, going to shout out to them. I don't do a ton of woodworking, but would like to get into a little bit more as maybe time allows, or families, you know, my family time allows. But it's vital for us to be able to support these operations, and so sad to see that go. But regardless, they are going to have, I think, a final open house sale May 19th through the 31st. All right, that's that. There wasn't much that happened this last week in Fort Collins, so we'll jump into City Council meeting review. The Elizabeth funds were Elizabeth BRT bus rapid transit system were approved for final design to get us to 100% final design. I'm going to share. Let's see here. There we go. So it got us to 5.59 to get us to 100% of the design. This is going to be, and it's coming from the 2050 tax. So again, reminder what that 2050 tax was. It was a 1/2 cent sales tax where half of that, or basically 1/4 cent, went to Parks and Recreation. 1/8 of a cent went to public transportation, AKA this. And then 1/8 of a cent went to climate, which also I'm sure they could, you know, fund it. The definitions of things, now they're going to be very transparent, but the definition of things, and like the South College or South Side Community Center is getting a lot of 2050 tax dollars. And I know certain council members weren't super excited about that. From there, I just wanted to show the Harmony Overpass got their funding approved as well. So that project is in full force moving forward, and we'll connect the power trail. But I wanted to show, let's see here, slide 148. Come on, 148. Okay, I just wanted to show, what? Oh, okay, yeah, this is the cost of the overpass, $12 million. It looks like the total cost of that project. And they did get, this was on second reading. Oh no, excuse me, first reading. And so they do have to go through second reading for formal, fully being adopted. But the $12 million project is going to be approved, it looks like. But I wanted to show 155, where it is. There we go. So right now, this power trail disconnects, and you basically have to come over, the power trail disconnects up here over kind of by McMurray. You come up here along McMurray, go across the street on Harmony Road, which does have a lot of accidents. You know, one thing I wanted to say about accidents real quick, we did have a very unfortunate motorcycle fatality this last week, and Fort Collins is working towards 0 serious injuries or fatalities on our roads, and Project Zero, or Vision Zero, I should say, excuse me. And apparently the motorcycle hit a car that was going in the same direction and then got hit by an additional car. So I'm, very sad to see that happen. But then I was the same day driving along College Avenue, and we had a motorcycle just weave in and out of the traffic really pretty quickly. And my wife goes, my wife, who's an occupational therapist, works at Northern Colorado Rehab Hospital. She goes, we have a lot of young men who ride their motorcycles and they end up in our hospital all the time. And it's a sad thing to see, but, just ultimately I'm saying that because right now there is a lot of this Harmony Road cross for bicyclists and pedestrians. It's a big street to cross. It's 6 lanes across Harmony Road. And so this underpass is $12 million underpass, not including this cool overpass over here, the siphon overpass, but we'll connect the power trail all the way from where it ends across Harmony Road and then connects it on the backside of Cruz Elementary. So excited to see that thing get approved, get funded, and started. Definitely excited about that personally. Let's see here. Let me make sure you guys can see what I'm seeing. And make sure to ask any questions if you guys want, of course. Don't feel like you have to while I'm here live. And then if you're watching this on rerun, ask comments or comment section below if you have any questions, and I will get back to you. All right, the plastic ordinance. I thought this was super interesting as well. It got pulled and from as far as to be a part of the discussion items. And I wanted to show you specifically slide 187. This is going to be bringing in, aligning the city of Fort Collins plastic bag ordinance to align with the state of Colorado. Right now, we only require 19 grocers not to use plastic bags, and in fact, then charge 10 cents for a paper bag fee. There's a little bit of revenue that's generated from it, not a lot. It's not a goal of the city of Fort Collins to do that, but it's more of a focus to get them in, to have people use reusable bags. I will tell you, I'm guilty of it all the time, forgetting those plastic reusable bags, and then I have to use a paper bag when I go there. But what this is now saying is essentially it's going to go across all retailers, stores, storefronts, and it could add 499 to 665 stores. This is including like home goods and other retailers that might have plastic bags. The conversation was not contentious by any means, but I would say the conversation was definitely a focus on trying to get plastics out of our daily use, food scraps, food containers, Jamba Juice or Into Juice or whatever those juice places are, not using those types of cups. So that was passed as well. So it looks like they'll be enacting that here pretty soon. I wanted to show I have been asked, what do some of our city employees make, police officers? And this was our second reading to approve salaries for our police officers and others in the city of Fort Collins. So slide 205. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it, because sorry if you guys can't see it, but I'll zoom in a touch. 205. Okay, so this is just this is some electric line workers, line crew. This is City of Fort Collins pay plan. The salaries and incomes for these folks, aren't too bad by any means. And when the median income for a family in Fort Collins not too long ago is $75,000, and this is looking like, this is just an individual $60,000 to $85,000. But then you get into our police officers. Our police officers are paid well. Police officer $85,000, moving up to $92,000. Police corporal and police sergeant, and then police lieutenant as well. Even community service officers starting at $70,000, and dispatchers from there as well. So I just thought that was an interesting thing to look at. What are police officers in Fort Collins getting paid? I've always thought that police officers specifically should be getting paid like NFL folks, and it should be as competitive as it can be to get in there, so that the best of the best intelligence, fit individuals are on the streets, ready to go, that don't ever feel like they have to put their hand on their holster and pull that and are confident in themselves. But, that's not necessarily the case, but it looks like they are, getting paid well from my perspective. Okay, moving forward. This is an exciting one. So if you haven't watched our podcast with Matt Robenalt, he's the director of the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority. Great information about downtown and Fort Collins, and also some of our alleyways and alleyway projects. One of the, let's see if I can pull this up real quick. Let's see, Fort Collins. I just want to show you guys some of these because these are kind of cool. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to show you guys this real quick because if you guys are watching from out of state or out of town or not from Fort Collins, I'm going to remove this real quick. Stop share screen, present, share screen. All right. So one of the cool things that we have in Fort Collins is our alleyways. Actually, for Janae and I's engagement photos, we got pictures, actually, I think right here in this alleyway. But the Downtown Development Authority years ago, I think started in 2010, I believe, but has 17 alleyways that have been approved that they're, poured millions of dollars into it. And they Sorry about that. Did you guys miss me? Did you guys hear anything? Okay, you guys probably didn't hear what I just said. I am sorry. Don't know what just happened. But long story short, alleyways in Fort Collins, it's a super cool deal. Poured millions of dollars into these over the years. They have completed 13 of the 17. 2 more have been approved. I want to show you guys what those 2 are. Here we go. Share. That is on page 242. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the one of 2 alleys that have been approved that will start construction April 2025, and we will then they should finish up by November of 2025. So essentially, it'll take all summer. And it'll be a pain in the butt. This alleyway specifically is the Big City Burrito alleyway, and it needs love. You come off of Mulberry and you come back here, and it's disgusting. It's got just potholes, and can't wait to see what this alleyway looks like. The next alleyway is the Chestnut Street alley. Now, I'm going to be real. I don't ever walk this alley. Couldn't tell you, from Adam what this alley looks like, but I can tell you it's an important one because they've got the Elizabeth Hotel right here, which is a world-class hotel. And then they've got all the other alleyways around it completed. So it's almost just like, let's finish this last part to make it look real nice. But that's exciting. That'll be 14 and 15 of 17 alleys. I'm not sure what the 16th and 17th alley are. I think I've got a guess on what they're going to be. But if you haven't been to Fort Collins or seen the alleys, it's definitely something pretty special, which is maybe not unique to Fort Collins, but something that makes Fort Collins pretty special for sure. All right. And that doesn't cost the city of Fort Collins anything. The Downtown Development Authority, they pay for it all and maintain those. So it's a pretty special deal. Okay, this, I'm going to share my other screen because we had our second reading of the ADU ordinance that did pass 5-2, which was interesting. We did have 2 council members, Kelly Olson and Susan Gutowski, vote no for it. And essentially, it's a state bill and we're bringing City of Fort Collins in it, but there was a clarity that says that an ADU can also be attached to your primary house. But I'm going to share this screen with you guys that looks over what exactly is an ADU. So I'll zoom in for you guys. Let's do full screen. All right. So this is essentially it's the House Bill 24-1152 that was passed, and now we are bringing in to changing our ordinance so that we are in compliance with this House bill, and we need to do it by June 30th, 2025. And this is essentially of the requirements of this House bill. So permitting ADUs where the land use code permits single unit dwellings. Wherever there is a single unit dwelling, and there are also some rules here. Essentially it's any municipality with here we go. At least 1,000 residents. The bill requires jurisdictions within a metropolitan planning organization with a population of at least 1,000 residents to allow ADUs. So essentially, any and every town and city in Colorado has to abide by this, essentially. But here we go. Permit ADUs where land use codes for single unit dwellings are. ADUs must be built on the same lot as the primary dwelling. ADU may be attached or detached. That was the language that apparently wasn't very clear on our first reading that got adjusted in our second reading that says that can be an attached unit. Allow existing accessory dwellings to be converted into an ADU. So if there are, there's a conversation of what is an ADU, an attached dwelling unit. Dwelling is a big word where planning and zoning and City of Fort Collins have been talking, because there are some accessory units, accessory buildings, I guess that's the right word to use it, of like office space, maybe a garage, workshop that has plumbing but isn't used for a dwelling. But they're saying that you can convert these into ADUs, and City of Fort Collins is going to try to figure out how they can make sure that people aren't skirting those rules, because there are some pretty significant fee differences between an accessory dwelling unit and accessory building. And there are going to be people who are going to try to skirt those rules to try to get an accessory building approved, but ultimately use it as a dwelling unit. So City of Fort Collins is kind of trying to address that head on. Allow an ADU to be at least 750 square feet in size. May not require setbacks to be greater than minimum for primary dwelling. So you can't make stiffer rules or regulations for the dwelling ADU versus primary dwelling unit. May not require restricted design standards that apply to the primary dwelling unit. I still think there'll be a fair amount of design standard regulations, especially in HOA areas. May not, I think this is probably one of the biggest ones, and this is going to be interesting how it actually moves forward. May not require a new off-street parking space for the ADU. I still have thought about my personal house on this, and I'm like, man, we have a 3-car garage. We live on the corner, so it's relatively busy. There are cars that park on the street. We have our van that parks on the street. We have 3 vehicles for our household. And if we had an ADU and decided to rent it out, which technically and legally I can do as of June 30th or whenever this passes, or it has passed, excuse me. So essentially they have 10 days from on the 4th. So on February 15th, this is now law in Fort Collins. I can go submit a permit or preliminary design review for an ADU on my house and go get it done as of February 15th. And if I decided to rent that out, not short term, because there is no short-term rentals for ADUs. That is a law in Fort Collins that says and the state law said you didn't have to allow that. So City of Fort Collins was like a hard no on short-term rentals. But if I decided to rent it out long-term, that's another vehicle that's parking at my house more trash. And so, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see some case studies. Now, I do not plan on building an ADU out in my house currently, but I have tossed out the idea of Janae to say, hey, what if we build a podcast studio that could be converted into like a little studio for when your parents come in and stay with us instead of them staying, downstairs. May not require owner occupancy of one of the units on the lot. So they can be rentals. They can be, and I did verify this with Clay Fricky at the City of Fort Collins. I can use some of our rental properties. They don't have to have an owner occupied to build an ADU on there. So that is a law that essentially, again, ADUs can be built anywhere there is single family households. Let's see here. In addition to these requirements, the bill also allows subject jurisdictions to require the Historic Preservation Commission to offer a recommendation to local governments restricting ADU from being used as a short-term rental. So that is happening. City of Fort Collins is restricting an ADU. Imply and enforce safety codes, require a statement from the water service provider regarding the capacity of the service. So that's something that's going to be interesting. I don't know how all of that works in regards to an additional water tap, which could be $64,000. $63,000, something along those lines in Fort Collins. So that'll be interesting. And then obviously a sewer tap, utilities. It's not going to be inexpensive, to say the least, for ADUs. But that did pass on second reading on February 4th, 10 days, February 15th. You can build ADUs in Fort Collins. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. Our last item that was discussed with urban forestry, and really what I wanted to show mostly on this one was, or talk about a couple things. Urban forestry strategy. 88% of our canopy is on private lands in Fort Collins. 12% is publicly owned. But City of Fort Collins is definitely, there's a few signs in Fort Collins, Arbor City, Tree City of America, from where, different organizations. It's a big focus, and on development, redevelopment. It's crazy. Sometimes you'll watch a development happen and they will protect trees on this development. So it's pretty awesome, whereas they used to just cut these things down. But City of Fort Collins is very much in tune with wanting to protect our trees and canopy. There's a couple things that I wanted to show you, mostly just because I thought they were really cool stats. And I have talked about it a little bit before, but let's see here, slide 420. Oh yeah, way down there. But City of Fort Collins, we had Councilmember Kelly Olson on the podcast last week, which will come out middle of March. And he is responsible for really pushing our natural lands, open areas, public spaces. And between Larimer County and Fort Collins, we have over 75,000 acres of open space, public lands, and essentially public access. It's pretty darn special. But I wanted to show you guys this specifically. These are acreages of parks in Fort Collins. I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. Stop share screen, present. All right, here we go. I just thought this was really interesting. There's two things that I want to show you guys, is just the amount of acres for parks in Fort Collins. And now really, the focus was on canopy and possible canopy and what they can change here, and our focus, all that kind of stuff. But again, Collindale Golf Course, 157 acres. Southridge is 120 some odd acres, 127 acres. But parks all across the place. Now it does include cemeteries as well. Let's see here, Grandview Cemetery, 43 acres, where a lot of my family members are buried. But if you haven't walked through Grandview Cemetery, it is absolutely gorgeous. Tons of trees right by City Park, which, speaking about City Park, 76 acres, 55 acres, and then Grandview Cemetery as well. Let's see here, where we live, Fossil Creek Park, 96 acres. Spring Canyon Park, one of my favorite parks, 116 acres, one of the largest parks in Fort Collins. And then Twin Silo Community Park, 54 acres, but probably one of the cooler parks as well. And then from there, I wanted to show you guys kind of a breakdown of some of the different acreages in Fort Collins based off of zoning. CSU taking up 762 acres in Fort Collins. Our industrial district, kind of over Air Park area, Genesis North, 1,500 acres. And then our commercial takes up 2,900 acres, almost 3,000 acres. The majority of our land is definitely going to be on the residential side of things, between mixed use medium, mixed use high, and residential low. So, between those mixed uses, we got 25,000 acres of residential, roughly residential area. That was, I think, it. Oh, and then Mayor Jenny Arndt pointed out that per our plan and actually our budget, we've got moved from 500 new trees planted each year over the next 10 years to 1,000 trees planted each year over the next 10 years. There's a couple last things that I want to show you guys on slide 537 and 549. 537, 549. I'll go down here. 537. I just thought this was interesting. So if you're looking at Fort Collins and you want a place with mature landscaping, here is our tree canopy cover by block group. Green is greater than 25% tree canopy. A lot of this is downtown, on the west side of town, midtown right here. And then we got 5 to 15%, 15 to 25%. A lot of the outskirts, northeast, where a lot of development's happening right here, little to no tree coverage. But as I will show you, they will also, that's a priority for them. Where there is no tree coverage, that is where a priority is for them. And then the last page I wanted to show you is 549, but okay, here we go. Oh yeah, this is the tree canopy change from 2011 to 2021. So where our focus has been over the last few years. Now, so actually purple means there's less tree coverage, greater than 25% less tree coverage. Now, I think that could be Bloom maybe, or Bloom area. That's Mulberry roughly. I believe. And then the pink is 25% to 5% less. So there's actually been a little bit less tree coverage along our artery here. And that could be from trees dying out because of age. There are tree diseases, things of that nature. And then we got blue, 5%, and then greater than 25% gain, I believe. Oh, let's see if we can see that. Greater than some odd percent gain, 40 to 60%. 40 to 80%. Green, northeast and southwest, where we saw a lot of little to no tree canopy. That's been a large focus over the last decade or so. All right, we got somebody watching from Bavaria in Germany. Yes, thank you for joining us. All right, now some things to do. It is Valentine's Day week. February 14th coming up. I have not gotten reservations. Places to consider in Fort Collins if there is availability, which probably not necessarily. But here are some of my favorites. Rare Italian, the Little. We've got the Melting Pot, which is a fan favorite. They've got some really fun. We've done that a few years running. Cafe Vino and Ace Gillette's. Those are some of the fan favorites. If you haven't gotten reservations, definitely do that. It is Bike to Work Week, and I am going to show you guys a screen where all of the stations are going to be for, there we go. All of the stations for the Bike to Work Day. This is going to be from, as you can see, 7 and 9:30 for the morning stations. There's not as many afternoon stations at all. But some are both. Now, or I should say there's not as many specifically afternoon stations, but most are both and or morning. I can tell you this one is along the power trail. We've got a few along Mason Trail right here. This is kind of cool over at Westfield Park area. This is Weber and Johnson Elementary. Roland Moore Park's got a few. Spring Creek along the Spring Creek Trail. This would be along the Spring Creek Trail as well, excuse me. So if you're taking the Spring Creek Trail, you've got some along the Pooter Trail coming right here. And then a lot focused in and around downtown Fort Collins, Old Town area. And this is obviously campus. So temperature looks like it's going to be, let's see if you guys can see my 10-day forecast for Friday, 45 degrees. And so not too bad, not too bad. It might be a little bit chilly, not too much wind as well. Might be a little bit chilly in the morning and late afternoons, but definitely participate. It's a pretty cool thing. We have a summer bike to work day and a winter bike to work day. And there's some giveaways, food, coffee. So if you're able to, check that out. There is a For the Love of Beer, which is a fundraiser to benefit Child Safe on February 14th, 6 to 9 p.m. And this is going to be at the Center for Creativity. And participating breweries are Odell, Maxline, Equinox, Gilded Goat, Horse and Dragon, Mythmaker, New Belgium, Rally Kings Y, Salt Road Brewing, Timnath Beer Works, and Southern Girl Brewing. So if you don't have anything to do and that sounds like something that you're interested or want to participate in, that is this Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. And then finally, I thought this was super interesting. I have not heard about this before, but apparently there is a Loveland's Valentine's Day group wedding and vow renewal ceremony. This starts at 4 p.m. and it's $150 per couple. And this is an annual deal, but essentially you can like just go there, get married, renew your vows, listen to some music. And it's at the Sweetheart Winery and Event Center in Loveland, Colorado. So, hey, you want to go save $25,000, $10,000 and go spend $150. Now, fun fact, if you guys don't know me too well, my wife and I, really quickly, we got married, got divorced, like legit divorced, wait the 90 days, sign all the paperwork, separation of assets, all of that kind of stuff. And then got married 2 years later when we found out that maybe, hey, we're growing up a little bit, maybe not as selfish as we once were, and really kind of liked each other. So take two is going on real well. But for a solid $32.50, we went to the Larimer County Courthouse. Now, I'm sure that was in 2017. So it's probably a little bit more expensive, but you can always just go to the courthouse, sign a few papers. The person signing the paper for you can act as your witness. So you can get married for $32.50 or roughly right on there. Or if you want to go explore Sweetheart Winery in Loveland on Friday for $150 per couple to get married. That is all I have for the week and live in Fort Collins this week. I appreciate you guys watching on a weekly basis. Definitely getting better views on a weekly basis. Appreciate the interaction. So whether it's this time or in the future, feel free to comment, ask questions, engage. And then also let me know, do you like it when I bring on one of my partners, Connor, Zach, Izzy, or Caleb, to kind of go in depth and hear different perspectives? I think it's been really great, but I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. So comment below. Appreciate you guys watching. And until next time, have a great day.